In the summer of 1914, Europe was confident, powerful, industrial, armed. No one believed a single gunshot would destroy empires. But in a city called Sarajevo, a young man pulled a trigger, and the world caught fire. On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the throne of Austria-Hungary, visited the city of Sarajevo. A 19-year-old Bosnian Serb nationalist named Gavrilo Princip fired 2 bullets. They killed the Archduke and his wife, Sophie. It seemed like a regional crisis. A tragedy, yes, but not a world war. But Europe was a web of alliances, a trap waiting to spring. What began as an assassination in a Balkan city became a global war within weeks. Leaders promised victory by Christmas. Young men volunteered by the thousands, afraid the war would end before they could prove their courage. Instead, came the trenches. From the North Sea to the Swiss border, soldiers dug into the earth. They lived in mud, in filth, in the constant presence of death. At the Battle of Verdun, the French and German armies bled each other white. Over 700,000 casualties for little strategic gain. On the first day of the Battle of the Somme alone, the British Army suffered 57,000 casualties. By the time the battle ended, over 1 million men were dead or wounded. This was not war of honor. This was industrialized death. The factory had been weaponized. For the first time in history, war reached new dimensions of horror. Poison gas, chlorine, phosgene, filtered gas drifted across trenches. It didn't discriminate between soldier and civilian. It blinded, it burned, it suffocated. Tanks rolled through barbed wire, crushing obstacles that had stopped infantry for years. They were clumsy, unreliable, but they were the future. Submarines, U-boats attacked and seen beneath the waves. They shattered the distinction between military and civilian. When Germany sank the Lusitania in 1915, 128 Americans died. The war was coming to everyone, and for the first time, war came from above. Airplanes, once used only for observation, now carried bombs. The Industrial Revolution had evolved. Factories that once built textiles, now built destruction. The war was not confined to Europe. It was, truly, a world war. Colonial soldiers fought for empires that denied them equality. They came from Senegal, from India, from Australia, from Vietnam. They died for countries that would never fully accept them. In 1917, the United States entered the war. Fresh troops, fresh resources, fresh money. The balance shifted. But while armies fought on the front lines, something even more radical was happening behind them. In Petrograd, years of suffering military defeat, food shortages, staggering casualties finally boiled over. The Bolsheviks promised peace, land, and bread. They made peace with Germany immediately. Russia was out of the war and in the midst of a new one, civil war. By 1918, the war had done what centuries of conflict could not. It erased the old order. The German emperor abdicated. A republic was declared. The most powerful military land in Europe was now a democracy in chaos. Austria-Hungary simply dissolved. New nations Austria, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia emerged from its ruins. The sick man of Europe finally died. Its territories were carved up by Britain and France, creating the modern Middle East, with borders drawn by Europeans. Russia became the Soviet Union, the world's first communist state. A new ideology, a new threat. In 1919, the victors gathered at Versailles to reshape the world. To the victors, this was justice. To many Germans, it was humiliation. The Treaty of Versailles ended the war, but it planted the seeds of another. The numbers are almost too large to comprehend. The lost generation emerged: writers, poets, thinkers who saw the illusion of glory shattered. They wrote of a world that had lost its meaning. The world had modernized faster than its morality. Technology had advanced, but wisdom had not kept pace. WorldWarI was called the war to end all wars. It ended empires. It redrew maps. It changed warfare forever. But it did not end conflict. Instead, it created the conditions for something even darker: economic collapse, angry nations, radical ideologies rising from humiliation. A man in Germany begins to speak.